Ah, okay, so that's the guy I need to kill, but he's neutral to me. Let me load back my save just to make sure I'm not doing anything stupid. I've been
Оружие
carrying
убрал.
these like gas canisters like just for the occasion. Let me
Ствол
see
на
if it
плечо,
works. So
мужик.
let me
Ты ствол-то
drop this to
убери.
your feet, my friend. It's very subtle, and let me see. Okay, so that works. And yeah, his friends in the back are just like chilling at the campfire. So actually killing him like this and not directly
Послушайте,
shooting him
мужики.
is actually working. So I can get my reward from the mission. Yeah, these guys are chilling. Okay, that's good. We did it. Honestly, it's been a while that I covered a Stalker story focus mod on the channel, and I think it's time to talk about Pre-Boy Story. Out of all the mods I could pick and want to review, I chose this one today for two reasons. First, because it's one of the very first story mods, if not the first full conversion mod ever made, taking us all the way back to 2008, barely a year after the official release of Shadow of Chernobyl. And second, because at the time it was almost considered to be a sequel to the game. That's how much of an achievement it was. Clear Sky was not even out yet, and the devs openly admitted in interviews being inspired by Pre-Boy Story for the main plot of Call of Pripyat that came a couple years after that. It's always crazy to see how fast the Stalker modding community emerged and started having an impact on the games. Especially because we're not talking about making a couple balance changes or reskinning some weapons, but a full new storyline and complete overhaul of the game not even a year after the original Shadow of
Так,
Chernobyl
бери
came out.
оружие.
It's been a bit forgotten these days, and Pre-Boy Story rarely makes it to the top list of the recommended mods that people generally suggest. And for good reasons, I think, that we're gonna cover in this video, but it remains the perfect embodiment of the early modding days of the franchise and had a lot of influence on numerous mods that came after. I think all of these reasons make it worth talking about, and it might even make you want to try it out. I personally had a lot of fun with it. Before we start, I want to quickly share the timeline of the whole project, because it's sometimes overlooked how much sweat, time, and love modders put into these works, and how confusing everything can be to follow too. So it was first released by the Desawave team in early 2008, got regular updates and patches until early 2009, and the project was closed as the team went to work on Lost Alpha, that ended up releasing in early 2014, another legendary mod that I really need to talk about on the channel someday. So technically we could play this 2009 version, it's still around and available, but a year later, in 2010, 100 Rats Bar started to work on an overhaul of the project to slowly rework and improve pretty much every aspect of the mod. And after 2 years of work, he released a completed version, Pre-Boy Overhaul 3.2.5. He then took a break, came back in 2015 to try some quick updates, disappeared again, and came back in 2019 to finalize everything, and finally released Pre-Boy Story Overhaul in 2020. And that's the version I decided to play for this review. It's got a laundry list of changes compared to the 2012 overhaul, and an even bigger list compared to the original 2009 mod. Mainly tons of bug fixes, new gun models, visual improvements, a lot of balance and economy changes that make the game actually more challenging than the original, but less frustrating thanks to all the bugs and crash fixes, much better stability overhaul, and the story slightly reworked to have better continuity with the official games that released after the first release of the mod. So a giant quality of life, bug fixing and fine-tuning overhaul, but still the same original mod at the center. This mod is not a standalone, so you need a copy of Shadow of Chernobyl for it to work. The installation couldn't be easier. I will go over it at the end of the video, with a lot of tips to get you started if you're interested in trying it. Okay, let's dive into the game. So Pre-Boy Story brings a brand new storyline where you play a military lieutenant, Pre-Boy Slipchenko. You're sent to the zone a year after all the events that took place in the original Shadow of Chernobyl game to investigate a mysterious organization missing groups of soldiers that reported weird anomalies and mutations before disappearing themselves, and missing helicopters sent to rescue scientists. And just with this quick summary of the main plot, you can already see how it influenced the story in Call of Pripyat. So you start at the military outpost in Cordon, completely naked, with your commander making fun of you from the get-go on how unprepared you are for what's coming to you. So just out of survival instinct, you start looking everywhere to see if you can find food, medicine, maybe some weapons, anything to survive before you have to leave the base. And in a way, from the very beginning, the mod teaches you what you will need to do for most of your playthrough. Take initiative, be resourceful, and explore, explore, explore. There's no hand-holding, the game doesn't micromanage you with 1,000 tasks to do. You have some distant objectives to achieve far away in the distance, but how you get there is up to you. And it's a mix of talking to everybody, exploring, collecting clues, finding documents, and slowly piecing up everything together and unfolding all the mysteries of the zone. The game truly plays like a big investigation, and it's one of its stronger aspects. After you manage to get out of Cordon, you're free to go wherever you want and discover the story at your own pace, in whatever order random events, luck, common sense, or exploration brings you. It's wiser not to go to some locations because you want better gear, weapons, or resources in general first, but the game won't prevent you to do it if you want. And sometimes it works, and sometimes you just learn from your mistakes. All the locations are familiar, but everything changed at the same time because we are following the events that happened in the first game. Sidorovich is not here anymore, for example, but on the road, trying to get money directly from people, I guess. And we have to figure out what's happening with him. The miracle machine has been turned off, faction relations have evolved. For example, as a military, you're friendly with loners, I mean, at least neutral. It's really a new story taking place in the OG atmosphere, with a very interesting free-play, non-linear aspect to the gameplay. The downside of this, for a lot of people, will be the reading. I personally don't mind it too much, but that's one of the aspects of the mod that feels a bit dated. Between the dozens, giant PDA entries, walls of text and dialogue, especially all the exposition at the beginning that can be a bit overwhelming, you better enjoy taking it slow and reading a lot because it's core of the experience. The writing is not bad, a bit cheesy and corny sometimes, but overall it's okay. It's just that all the reading, figuring out clues, and deducing what you should do next is fully part of how you play this mod. And if you don't like it, it's definitely not gonna be for you. I'm not saying it's boring, far from it. There's still a lot of fighting and action in general, but you're actually investigating and need to take the time to find and gather a lot of information. One thing I absolutely love, and we go back to how dedicated modders can be, you know how old school games used to come with a game manual? For example, you can still find the one for Shadow of Chernobyl online, if you didn't get a physical version while buying the game 15 years ago. These manuals gave a lot of context and lore to the events happening in the game, a lot of basic tips on how to play and navigate. Well, the team behind Pre-Boy Story actually did one of these for the mod, and I actually recommend checking it out if you decide to play the mod. It's got a ton of useful information to get you started, it adds to the lore, and you can really roleplay this military investigator being given briefing documents on his mission before going to the zone. I don't know, it's just pretty cool that they went the extra mile and did that. That's what I call dedication. That's why I'm not joking when I said this mod was considered almost a sequel to the original game for a while. I will also link a full playthrough made in the same format. This one I only recommend using if you're stuck or hit a wall during your progress. I personally did not need it for my playthrough, but it's here if you need to. Okay, let's get back to the game. On top of a brand new story, we have a ton of new features. We have a new HUD, a new inventory, levels have been reworked to add more things to explore and feel refreshed. There's also tons of cars to drive around. The mod doesn't suffer too much from having to backtrack constantly all over the zone, which is something that plagues a lot of the old mods, so that's good. And at least if you have to, you always have a car or truck around to make the trip faster here. The original Pre-Boy mod added a ton of new weapons, weapon sounds, and the overhaul built on top of it with new updated models. Blowouts and weather systems have been reworked. I'm actually loving the thunderstorms happening in the distance. You're never sure if it's a blowout coming or just a zone lashing out not too far from you. It really adds to the atmosphere. All the audio landscape has been reworked too, and it really adds up to the atmosphere. Nights are dark, your flashlight is weak, finding an armor with at least basic NVGs will be a priority. The whole economy has been reworked, there's plenty of new items too, mainly food, mutant parts to find and sell, just some variety without cluttering too much your inventory. In the overhaul, the only difficulty you can play is Master, which is fine. The game is not too hard if you play it as intended, which is exploring a lot, finding stashes and hidden caches, and you have a ton of repeatable tasks you can get from NPCs if you're struggling. I never ran into any ammo, food, medicine or money issues. The progress is slow but rewarding. Big milestones feel really good, like getting your first scoped weapon for example. This will be a game changer. Enemies die very fast, and you die very fast too. Almost too fast sometimes. Everything is the opposite of a bullet sponge. That might be my only issue with the game. Balance, actually. Even with a good armor, a couple bullet res artifacts, and extra health artifacts, getting one-shotted by zombies, for example, is very common, and it feels a bit frustrating. And the opposite is true too. Most enemies will die extremely fast, especially if you can land headshots, so fast that being mindful about which caliber weapon you use, which type of ammo, AP rounds or not, it doesn't really matter. Everything just melts, which makes the gameplay and fights a bit too simplistic in my opinion. In the end, you will just learn to fight from a distance to avoid getting erased from the map too quickly, which limits a bit the overall gunplay. If I could change one thing with the mod, it's this. The balance right now doesn't really make things hard, you just save scum a lot, which is not really interesting. The balance with mutants though, and all these survival aspects like radiation, food, sleep are pretty good. They are actually pretty well tuned, which makes fighting Stalker even more frustrating. Besides that, I had very little technical issues, the mod is surprisingly stable. I'm talking about the overhaul here. I maybe had 2 crashes my whole playthrough, some stutters in some areas like army warehouses, but that's pretty much it. It runs very well and has very little issues. The AI can glitch and have some pathfinding issues at times, but it's nothing game breaking, and they still outplay and kick my ass on a regular basis, so it's just Stalker stuff pretty much. So, after playing Pre-Boy Story extensively, I can see why it was such a popular mod at the time. And it's still very immersive, challenging and atmospheric for today's standards. I'd say it's not for casual players, like a lot of the more hardcore Stalker mods, as it requires a lot of patience, reading and exploration, but for veterans who want pretty cool new lore, new stories to discover, with the OG game atmosphere and lots of quality of life, new items, location and balance changes to keep things fresh, it's definitely something to try, especially with the 2020 overhaul that makes it much more accessible. It's a really interesting dive in the early Stalker modding days and what a sequel of Stalker could have been before we got the official Clear Sky and Call of Pripyat releases. Oh, and I just made a second channel for more raw, uncut content that doesn't really fit the main channel, so I'm gonna use this opportunity to soft launch it. I will make an official announcement video later, but my full uncut playthrough of Pre-Boy Story will be there if you want to check it out. I will upload the first part at the same time I publish this video, and the rest will come quickly after. So go subscribe and check it out if you're interested. The link will be in the video description. I will also post more relaxed, behind-the-scenes content on this channel. I'm just trying something different. Basically, anything that doesn't really fit in here. Okay, and now let's quickly go over the installation of the mod and some tips to get you started if you decide to try it out. So first, you're gonna find your installation folder where your Shadow of Chernobyl game is installed. Then we're gonna extract the mod archive and copy the game data folder in your Shadow of Chernobyl folder. Then we're gonna open the fsgame.ltx with Notepad or any text editor you have, and you just turn the mod on by changing this value to true. For the game data line, you save and you're good to go. Some mods can have pretty complicated, sometimes nightmarish installs. This one is not one of them. Oh, and another thing, in your fsgame.ltx file, you can check the link here. That's where you will find your user.ltx file. It's in this file that you can edit some keybinds that are not accessible in the game, like turning the car engines, for example, or removing the head bob if you still have some. And as usual, you will find all the download links and some extra details in the video description. Okay, that's it. Enjoy the mod, or go watch the full playthrough I did on the secondary channel if you don't feel like experiencing the struggle by yourself. Okay, cheers.